Good evening and welcome to this week's meeting of the Milton Board of Selectmen. Today is Thursday, October 4th, 2018. Let the record show that 4 members are present. Mr. Flaherty will be here. He's running a bit late, along with Town Manager, Tom, what's his name? Mike Units. And we have members of the school committee here also. We'll give them an opportunity to declare their meeting in about 2 minutes. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chairman Coleman, you want to call your meeting to order?
Yep.
It's going to be one of those nights, you know.
Can we have a motion to open the joint meetings with School Committee and Board of Selectmen?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We have some business we want to take care of first, and then we'll get right to the meats and potatoes and stuff. So on the agenda, we have an application, Norton Park and Recreation, for a parade motorcade permit for the Halloween parade on October 28th, 2018, from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. to assemble at Fitness 1440, LJ's Car Wash, Bedrock Granite, and Oasis parking lot, and this spanning at St. Mary's Church in Norton Middle School. You have a copy of the request. Anyone have any questions? This is pretty cut and dry, so. Mr. Bramwell, you want to tell us about what the selectmen are doing this year?
Selectmen are going to have the same float that we had last year with the truck and the trailer. It worked out good with the kids being able to sit and we're safe. And we can carry the tons of candy that we bring.
Plus the old guys that can't walk, you know, have to take a ride.
Well, I'm the one who started that, so I'm not pointing fingers. But no.
Pretty much the same route we've been in the past, so.
Yep.
Anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment that I was told to read. So if anybody wants to register to be in the parade, you can go on the town website, look up the Park and Recreations page, and go to the link to register online. Or you can go to the office and get an application. It's due by the 17th of October.
Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, Chair, entertain a motion to approve the application of Norton Park and Recreation for a motorcade parade permit for the Halloween parade on October 28, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have announcements. Mr. Salvo.
The Saturday, October 6th, they have an electronics recycling event held at St. Mary's Church, 1 Power Street, Norton, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, October 20th, having a haunted hayride in conjunction with the Norton VFW, 8049 38 Summer Street, Norton, Mass. With rain date will be October 23rd, 2018, from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm not sure if this is a notice, but don't know anything about it. It's 2018 deer turkey hunting notice. Is that something to do with?
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can have it.
Okay, excuse me. Hunting is allowed at the town forests and conservation properties with applicable license in accordance with the laws, with exceptions of Johnson Acres, North Washington Street. Motorized vehicle use is not allowed. Please take all necessary precautions while enjoying the town land, such as wearing bright orange hats and clothing if you hike during deer season and fall turkey hunting season. For information, 2018 deer hunting season archery opens October 1st to November 24th. Shotgun opens November 26th to December 8th, and permitted firearms December 10th to the 31st. Fall turkey hunting season, October 22nd to November 3rd. Special conditions apply. Contact divisions of fishery and wildlife. Hunting hours, half hour before sunrise to half hour after sunset. No hunting on Sundays. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Bramwell?
We have a notice from the Chartley Garden Club, presents a raised bed gardening seminar on Monday, October 15th at the Congregationalist Parish at 5 West Main Street, Norton. New members are welcome. Sue LaValle of Coast of Maine Organic Products will discuss organic gardening practices. Meetings start at 7 p.m., doors open at 6:45. To join the Charlie Garden Club, dues are $10 a year. Guests pay a fee of $5 per meeting. We reached on Facebook, the Charlie Garden Club of Norton, since 1934, and email is charliegardenclub1934@gmail.com. And I think that's it.
Mr. Steele? The record show Mr. Flaherty has joined us. Evening.
Oh, yeah.
You have fun coming in from Boston tonight, dude?
It was a little dense.
You know, there's a game tonight, yeah?
Yeah, well, no, there was that. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Mr. Chairman, I found one more in my file. I think I should read this, please. This is for voter registration. Town Clerk Lucia Longhurst of Norton reminds residents that Wednesday, October 17, 2018 is the deadline to register to vote if you want to participate in state election to be held Tuesday, November 6, 2018. Persons who are United States citizens, residents of Massachusetts, and who will be at least 18 years old on or before October 17th are eligible to register. Those meeting these qualifications who have a Massachusetts driver's license can submit their registration online at www.registertovote.ma.com or may come into the town hall to register at 70 East Main Street, Norton. Early voting will be taking place from Monday, October 22nd, 2018 through Friday, November 2nd, 2018 at the Town Hall, 70 East Main Street. The hours will be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Thursdays, 8:30 a.m. until 7:30 p.m., and Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Thank you.
See, you're here, right, Lucia? You want to come on up, talk about?
He did a great job. Can I go home?
Yeah, come on up.
Good evening. Okay, again, the deadline to register to vote is October 17th, 2018 at 8 p.m. You can register to vote online at mass.gov or obviously come into the town clerk's office. We will be open till 8 o'clock. Absentee ballots are now in for registered voters who will be unable to vote at the polls on Election Day due to absence from town during polling hours, a disability, or religious beliefs. An application for absentee voting must be filled in to absentee vote, and you can download one off the town clerk's page on the town website and email it to us or mail it to us, and we will mail the ballot if you can't come into town hall, or you can come into town hall to absentee to vote. The deadline for absentee voting is at noontime, 12 o'clock p.m. on the Monday before the election. Again, early voting starts October 22nd and runs through November 2nd during town hall business hours. The early voting is going to be held here at town hall in the kitchen, and the booths will be set up and people will be like the presidential. I anticipate about 1,000 to 1,500. That's my guess. Okay. And obviously, the election is November 6th. Polling hours are 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. at Norton High School on 66 West Main Street in the high school gym. Please enter and exit through the auditorium entrance only. The main entrance will be closed to voters and locked. Police officers will be there to direct the residents, and they are not going to allow, and they will prevent anyone from roaming the hallways, and there will also be a traffic detail all day. And that's that, okay?
Any questions?
Any questions? Yes.
I just have a question. I know Mr. Mayor can answer this while he's here. Most towns close that day of election in the surroundings that I'm aware of. To make it easier, there is no conflicting roaming people at schools. I don't know if it's in his choice to do that this year, or?
Well, there'll be a police officer at the entrance of the auditorium, and there'll be a police officer at the entrance of the gym. I will obviously talk with them like I did the last election and let them know that nobody is to roam. And if anybody walks out of that auditorium or comes in that auditorium and starts down any hallways, they're to stop them at that point. So there will be 2 police officers there. And there will be signs outside the school. I have signs that say voting in the auditorium, and then with the arrow pointing to the auditorium, and then there's a big sign in front of the auditorium that says vote here.
It seemed to work fine during the primary. I was in there.
It worked very good, but yeah,
The police officers were very.
they were awesome. They were very good.
See what was
Yes,
going on.
yes, yes.
Dr. Maeda, you
Yeah,
want to?
so in response to the question, if we go back to last year, myself, Mike, the police chief, Lucia, met to discuss alternative, and we kind of came away from that, all of us understanding we were potentially moving to another site, not using the schools, and that kind of fell through. By then, our calendars were done and set, and so that's why. A lot of the districts that do close is because they have polling at elementary schools.
Yeah.
And the concern is youth, younger, so on. We haven't had any issues. Typically, we close on the presidential election. That's what we've done here through the years. Use that as our professional development day, if you will, or just close completely. So that was the process between the time that we met, worked together, all agreed, if you will, and then it kind of just fell through. No one's fault. It just fell through, and we just stuck to our calendar, really. And I will say that our work, Lucia's work, and the patrol officers, we haven't had any issues with it. Hopefully that continues. We also always make sure that we have some extra hands in and around that area throughout the day, so I think we'll be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm confident we'll be okay.
yes.
And we
I
move
have
all of
too.
our traffic to the back of the school, inside of the school, which allows.
It worked out well.
It worked, that whole main area is wide open for, especially our elderly voters who we want to get as close to the
Exactly.
poll as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
We're good?
thank you
Thank you.
for coming in. I do have one other announcement. We have a haunted hayride at the Norton BFW. This is the joint venture between the Norton BFW and the Gold Star Committee. It's going to be held on Saturday, October 20th, the rain date of Sunday, October 21st, from 3 to 8 p.m. It's going to be a haunted hayride. There'll be a bunch of games for the kids. They're free, by the way. There'll be prizes for the kids also. And we have a couple of other surprises coming along that we hope to make it a fun time. So we've never tried it before. We're going to try it this year. The selectmen have already given permission to shut down Summer Street. So we'll be able to use the wagon down in that area. And if anyone has ever traveled Summer Street at nighttime, it's very dark. So it should be a perfect place to spook people. So looking forward to it. And that will be from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. But again, we're not sure. The hayride will probably run from 5 to 8. 5 to 8, 5 to 9. It's a Saturday evening, so we're hoping that people will be able to come out and join us for that. Okay, we've already done the turkey, deer and turkey, right? See ya. Okay, Mr. Lavoy and Brittany Bishop, downtown. Come on up. One of you, somebody, anybody? So this is a request to Timmy Brown's going away party. Where's he going?
Nashville.
Oh, good for him. Good for him. So, would you tell us a bit about what you're trying to do over there?
So basically, we need to increase our capacity for the day. It's all going to be outside. We have 2 tents with the sides, so even if it rains, everybody's going to stay under the tent. We're using the parking lot next to the golf course, on the other side of the golf course. So there's downtown the golf course, then there's an open field, basically, that we're going to use for parking. So, what
The
else?
bridge have a sidewalk?
What was that?
The bridge has the
It
sidewalk,
does.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, from what I'm looking at, as far as the information goes, Mr. Yunus, is there anything you want to add to it?
Well, just on the parking, they used that lot before, and it didn't create any problems. That was the police department's main concern, that there was no parking on 123.
Exactly.
And hopefully you'll make sure that nobody
Right.
does that. And I know they're working with the building inspector and whatever that
Right.
is needed for the tents. And just my other question was porta potties, you bring in.
Yes, we ordered 3 on standby right now for it. That's what the building inspector asked for, so.
And I did talk to the ABCC. They don't have to do anything as far as their license. Their license is
Right.
applicable to this also.
So we don't have to be involved other than to make sure that they, from what I can gather here, it's just a fireproof.
Yeah. And
Tents.
Yeah, and I did speak to Sean Simmons, and he said he would come down, I'd show him how we're gonna set it up, and if we need a fire detail, we'll hire them. If we don't, we won't.
Yeah, they just wanted to come in to, as a courtesy, to let the board know what they were doing.
Okay. It seems like everything else is in order. The only departments will be involved would be building inspector, police and fire.
Right.
So if everybody's on board, there shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't take any action from this board, but tell us about the party. What's it all about? Is anyone invited, or are you selling tickets?
Timmy's full band is playing, which they've never played at downtown. He usually plays there by himself. He just wants to give people a chance to come see his band before he leaves. He's moving to Nashville to write, so, and he works for us, so he bartends for us on Tuesdays. So we wanted to do something fun for him before he leaves.
So Timmy Brown is a Norton native. He grew up here.
Yes.
I've known him since he was 5 years old. His father was Jim Brown. He was a selectman. He served with us on the Board of Selectmen at one point. His uncle Butch Rich.
Yes.
So, he's got family ties here, so. I saw him on American
Yeah.
American Idol a couple times.
Yeah, twice.
He was on there trying to get
I
selected.
saw
So
him at Taste of Train on Tuesday, and he was very good.
so we wish him
There Sunday.
well. Is that?
I was just wondering, did you say what day?
Oh, it's October 14th from 3 to 6. So we were just, we've been talking about that. I think we really only need the increase in capacity from like 1 to 9-ish, because there's also a Pats game. I don't think people are going to stay after.
I understand the pressure.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? No. So that's October 14th from 3 to 6?
Mm-hmm.
What day of the week is that? That's Saturday?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay. So if anyone out there is interested, October 14th, or Sunday, 3 to 6 downtown. You want to say goodbye to Tim Brown? I'm sure he'll be back visiting
he'll be back.
occasionally, but good luck to him, and hopefully it works out fine for you guys.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything with you?
I don't think there's anything, we don't have to take any action on it. Normally, if it's an outside event, we sometimes have to issue a one-day license, but where you folks already have your license, the only thing I would caution you on is make sure you protect that license.
Yeah, and I
yeah.
believe you called the ABC, so, and we don't need any extra to
Yeah.
cover anything from,
Yeah,
on
just
that
make
end.
sure you card everybody and make sure you do everything right.
We actually hired security for the day too,
good.
so.
Very good. Anybody else?
Is that-
It's $40 a person. It comes with dinner and so,
But since I'm an honorary mayor of Norton, I get to say goodbye.
yeah, Peter will take care of you.
Most definitely.
Are we done?
Okay, well, I guess we don't have to take any action, but good luck, and
Okay,
hopefully
thank
everything
you.
works out for you, and hopefully you have good weather, and everything's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know.
Brittany, I'm looking forward to it.
Next thing you know, he's a friend of his.
You'll take care of it. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you.
So, I think I've lost total control tonight. But I'm going to recognize Chairman, Chairperson Cohen, the school committee. I believe you have your own agenda. You want to discuss some of the agenda items you have. What we're going to do tonight is, once you do that, we have a warrant. We have the town warrant that we're going to be presenting at town meeting in 2 weeks. We thought it'd be a great opportunity for all of us to sit in the same room and hear the presentation so we understand how it works and what's going on. And I think it would make it easier for everybody to have a clearer picture about the whole process. So, and we're interested to hear what you have to say also.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. The first thing on the agenda was the special education and the general education budgets. I'm going to let Dinesh take that one. That's your,
We're talking about the split on these?
yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to approach this differently, and we've actually had casual conversations about this already. This year, I think we're going to break the special education and the general education budgets into two separate budgets. There's a couple of reasons for that, but the main one is they're actually funded pretty differently. You know, there's one that's a mandate, there's one that's essentially, for lack of a better word, a discretionary budget. They're staffed differently, and quite frankly, between the two of them, individually, they're larger than pretty much any other department in the town. So I think it's a better way to look at it. I think it'll give a more accurate reflection of how we're staffing and funding those two separate divisions, if you will. And hopefully you guys are supportive of that. We're going to do this at least to the FinCom. I don't know going forward beyond the FinCom how that would work. I know in the budget, we're basically 300, and everybody kind of has their one number. So it might logistically not be possible to present it to the town that way, but certainly to the FinCom, we're going to present it as two different budgets. I'd even prefer to actually present them on two different nights, quite frankly. So,
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight the impact it makes. I mean, you guys get a total dollar amount, we understand how that works, but to highlight special education versus regular education, and the major difference between the two is, in special ed, you really have no choice. In general education, you can modify and do what you have to do to make it work, but you're mandated by law to follow certain guidelines on special education. So it would be helpful, I know to me, to see, which you keep talking 32% of your budget, you know, to find out exactly what that entails. Obviously, we can't get into the details of it, but it would be interesting for me, and I'm sure for others, to see how that all breaks down.
Yeah.
So coming with two different parts of the puzzle and then putting it all together is, for the final number, makes sense. But people have to start realizing the impact it has on your budget when you're trying to figure out, and you don't know. I mean, you open those doors September, whatever, 1st, 5th, or whatever you'd open them up, you really don't know what you're going to have, what kind of impact the special education is going to have until you get your enrollment and you get everybody set up and ready to go, and then suddenly, whoops, we have someone else move to town, and it doesn't seem to work too well the other way. It's always like you seem to get an extra body here or there, and that makes a difference.
yeah, and we're obviously, other than individual student information, which we can't legally give you, we're willing to give you any information, any data you want to have.
Yeah, right.
So,
But it would be helpful just to see the different breakdowns and numbers. Anyone have any questions on that? Mr. Bramwell?
No, even way back when I was on the school committee, it almost, even though it isn't, it almost pits the regular students against special education students, because the money that you need to educate special education students, you have to give them, and it has to come from someplace. And unless the town or the state is willing to pony up a little extra money, you have to take it from where you have the discretion.
right.
And I think just so people understand what's happening and where the crunch comes from, it's, the more they know, the better it is. And I know, like I said, just from my experiences, it can be extremely frustrating. I always told people that the very first vote I took when I got onto the Norton School Committee was a vote. My oldest daughter was in a gifted and talented program, and the very first vote I took was to eliminate the gifted and talented program because we needed money to fund special education. So even though it's been a long time, things haven't basically changed. It's always fighting, what is it, stealing from Peter to pay Paul type thing, and it can get personally hurtful to me sometimes. It was to me, and it kind of tore me apart, but it was something that we had to do, and it's nothing that anybody wants to do. But again, the more information you can give, I think the better it is for the average
Yeah,
citizen.
that's exactly the direction we're taking.
Yeah. And even if it's not technically split, I think because of the lack of, although I know with the social media, which I guess I'm just too old to really get into this thing, but I do pick up, you know, like when Sherry will post something, it pops up on my email, so I'll go look, but not enough people, especially people my age, get involved in that. And I think if you can present it, you know, just highlights at town meeting, at least people are going to get a gist of what's going on. You know, like I said, it's not going to be a specific, like Mr. Kimball mentioned, the specific numbers and stuff like that, but at least give them an idea of what you're up against, pitting one group of students against another.
Right.
I think it's we need to mention too that in no way are we trying to put one group of students against the other.
Right.
We're just trying to get the information out to people, and that's why you've seen me posting on Facebook, because we're trying to get out more information about the budget, about just the schools in general. We don't want people to feel as though we're putting one against the other. That's not at all our intention at all. We're here for the entire group of students that we have in Norton. We just want to highlight the different rules and regulations that are placed on us.
Right. And if I gave that impression, I apologize.
No, no, no.
It's just that,
You brought something up in my head that I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we reiterated.
it's just that it puts you in a horrible position, because there are some places you have to spend the money,
Right.
and it has to come from someplace.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually brought up something that we talked about for quite a while before we decided to do this, because I can absolutely see how someone might look at this and say, that's what they're doing. But
Yeah.
it was done with no animus, and if I'm being frankly honest, it doesn't really matter what I think about it or how I feel about it. The reality is it's a mandated thing. So it's essentially not relevant, you know? You can be angry about it, that's your call. We're certainly not. We're proud to have them in our school system. We love them, they're great kids. But at the same time, we do need to separate it out so that we can get a better, clear picture of, this is how we fund this is the money we need to do that, this is how we fund this, and this is the money we need to do that. And I think, as you said, I think it'd be helpful for the town in general to see it that way. So,
I think the flaw in the system is the fact that you have to, 30% of your budget is mandated. 35% of it is mandated. You have there's no discussion, no decision, not taking away from the general classes, but unfortunately what happens is, as the mandated part of it becomes a problem, the regular students they lose traction because of it. And the problem with the mandates are, it's forced down on us, but we're not supported by the state or the federal government, where they should have like a circuit breaker account out there where you guys can, when you get inundated with additional, when you hit it, and I know there's a certain percentage where you can ask for it, but it shouldn't have to be that high. It seems like it's an awful lot of money. You have to spend a lot of money before they say, well, okay, we can help you a bit. When you've got a small town like Norton trying to make things work, and you've got, again, the feds and the state bureaucracy telling you this is how you're going to do it, it makes it difficult to run a department. And, you know, when you come back and, you know, you start cutting out, and usually what it involves is your supplies go down the drain, you know, and the bus fees go up. I mean, there's other things you have to do to subsidize it, and that's when people start getting questionable about what you're doing, and unfortunately, there's nothing else you can do. You've only got so many dollars to spend, you gotta spend them,
exactly.
so. Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir. You have to identify yourself, please, for the record.
Tim Long from Village Way. Just a quick question, and maybe it's for FinCom, is why would you not be able at town meeting to separate the regular education budget and the special education budget? I thought I heard that you could not do that at town.
Well, no, state law, what we do is by law, we present a total dollar amount. So with the Board of Selectmen, the town government, everything's broken down by department, so it's salaries and expenses by department.
Sure.
And we have to live within those means. With the school department, what it is by state law, is they're allowed to project what they think they're going to be have to spend, but they have the ability to move funds around to make it work. And there's a lot more to it than it is even on the town side, because it's just so much, you know, things change. Special education costs go up, but at town meeting, you'll see most of the time, you're just going to see the total dollar amount.
Right, and I'm curious why they can't separate it, regular education. It's a state law and you just can't do it. Is that the basics?
Yeah, go ahead.
By statute, the operational budget can only be divided into two categories, which is operational and transportation. There are town meetings that have transportation as one line item for the school department and operational. But within the operational, special education is It's part of the operational budget, it can't be divided out. And part of that is, I'm gonna guess, is civil rights issues, in terms of, we're gonna have a debate in the middle of town meeting floor about not spending X on special education, which you can't do, because going back to the school committee, by civil rights, actually by state statute and federal statute, they have to support that by law. 504 ELL is also involved with that. So there are communities that do transportation in one line, general transportation plus operational. This town and many other towns like it do straight bottom number, because the school board is the only body that can actually move monies around. That's why when I go in front of town meeting, I am pretty definitive about this money's going to be used for this.
Right.
Well, that's what we say, and that's what we do, but if there was an emergency need, and I'll give you a perfect example, this past year we went to FinCom, got a supplemental budget for $100,000 for curriculum, and within 2 weeks we blew up with some cases, and we withheld that money, even though we communicated to both town meeting, to the Board of Selectmen, to the FinCom, because we had surprises that we didn't know about afterwards, which actually offset a cost. And that money never went towards that, and that's because of their vote.
Sure. I mean, I work with special needs populations, but I would still support delineating the two counts, but I know that you can't.
I think it's important, I think what Dinesh has brought up a couple of years ago, and now the committee has supported and going forward with, is I think it's really important to do two things. Number one, to provide line items, those that we can, total cost for out-of-district students, total cost for out-of-district special education, transportation, total costs for AP classes. You could do that. I mean, we can get to that level of all kinds of, I think the issue here is to look at, and I'll defer to Mike, he might know more about this, but the Arlington way has been done for a long time. What they do is, they basically look at special education as a 7% line item increase, and general education as a 3% general, and they try to fund that through their process of city council or board of selectmen, I'm not sure what form they have, because they recognize that there's more cost, and they don't want to get into this yin and yang. It's less cost on one side, although there may be more bodies, in other words, more teachers and more staff and so on. On the other side, it's a mandate. So what does that number look like? And I think what we want to do is share what those costs actually are for those types of line items, so people can have a better understanding that when money are moved, they're moved because of significant issues like we had last year, $800,000. We ended up moving $291,000 from stabilization at town meeting in order to pay our bills because of cases that came into the district after June 1st of the past fiscal year and into July 1st and then September as students arrived. You could also look at line items and say that, why are we spending so much on X, general ed or special ed? And be able to present and say, well, this is the reason why we're doing it, because we're trying to do Y. We're not trying to, and I believe the selectmen support this as well, we're not trying to get into this public debate about general ed and special ed. We're trying to present to the community that the cost of this has some areas that we don't control, as much as myself and Mr. Kimball specifically have emailed our state elected officials on a pretty regular basis in Mike's office to say, we need some further supports in order to be able to move forward, if you will.
Well, what they're doing is really a courtesy. It's breaking it down so people like you and I can figure out what they're trying to do, and it's like shooting dots. I mean, we understand it's a process, but everything they're doing is pretty much controlled and doing the best we can with what we have to work with. So,
Okay.
any other questions?
Nope, that's good. Thank you.
Thanks for asking. Okay. Anything else? Education, special education?
I think that's it on that. The next agenda item was the Norton High School secondary exit, which I just want to thank you for your work on that. And I think we were just looking for an update. I think you said there was some movement on that.
So thanks to Mr. Kimball's work, really, who literally pulled me aside one day and we started working on this in the springtime. We have a secondary exit at the high school that we would like to open up, and working with Keith and the highway department, that can start as early as the end of this week, because we've already had the, how do you call it, Dig Safe come out and look at all of that. And the reason behind that is to try to alleviate traffic on 123 by having a only bus entrance and exit, and then everything else would go down below to the yell area down by my office. It looks like we're going to be moving on that as soon as, maybe as soon as this Friday after 1, I'm going to guess probably into next week. Our goal is to either pave it right away or at least get that hard sand stuff down so that it can be plowed. And it would have signage coming from the school department that talks about bus entrance only, that type of thing. So that's our goal. Hopefully that will help to alleviate some of our traffic issues coming from that area, as you know. And then the second one that goes with this a little bit is at the Norton Middle School. You'll see some little things sticking out. I've had a lot of comments so far because
saw the
Dick
flags
Say
today.
went down there as well. And what we're trying to do there is take the current entrance, widen it so that traffic can go right away, and you just have one line going left, and then one exit coming in.
Is
So
it
that's
at
the
middle
whole.
school?
That's the
At the middle school?
Yeah, we really can't look at that secondary exit. One of the things that we talk about a lot is, we talk about emergency exits. Emergency exits, they gotta be plowed. And as we know, it's not. And the middle school right now, that's not something we wanna do. But we wanna really take a look at that main entranceway and say, if we can take traffic going right, just one lane going that way, that'll alleviate everybody trying to go left and right at the same time.
Yeah, 100 years ago when we built that thing, it seemed like 100 years ago, we had looked at that, and I think there was some issues with wetlands in that area. So if you run into an issue there, we might be able to come up with another way in and out of there. The Campbell House is pretty much falling down.
Right.
The bond's gone. You know, nothing says that at some point, they're gonna have to be taken down.
Right.
So if you run into an issue there, maybe we can look at another possibility to the side of that. You know, right now, that section, believe it or not, is still under the direction of the Board of Selectmen. We still control that portion of the property, but I think we could work out something. And it's getting back to the high school, that will be gated, and I want to stress that it's going to be gated. However, the kids that are walking or riding their bikes or whatever, they'll have another way in there. The main reason for bringing it up was my concern about all these national issues we've been running into recent years with these, and suddenly realizing one day that, God, there's only one way in and one way out of this place. If we had to get out of there, how are we going to get out of there? So I was aware of the right-of-way that we had there for whatever reason. I knew it was there. We did notify the abutters that we were going to do it. Never heard anything back. We have a right to do it anyway. It would be my hope that not so much going in the morning, but when they're coming out in the afternoon, probably have a crossing guard there to kind of, because Freeman Street's kind of closed too, you know. But that land has been owned by the town for a lot of time, and it's a long time. And it's time to use it.
Whereabouts is it exactly?
It's right by dental. It's right there.
afterwards, is that
Where the
like
dental- There's a boat on the property right now that doesn't belong to us, but that's where the right-of-way is. It's right to the, come up Freeman Street, it's just to the left of it.
Okay.
It's like maybe a house or two
About 40
down.
feet.
Yeah, it's not that far.
About 40 feet, which will allow for.
If it's across the street from Dunkin' Donuts.
There's a curb cut there already. It's being utilized by the people that live on the house on the left, which is rental property. But unfortunately, if you look at the plans, and I think that was one of the hang-ups, we were waiting for a little bit of engineering work there too, to find out where our property line was. And where they're parking now is really on our property. So it's gonna be interesting how we're gonna
It's
deal with
really
it.
important to recognize that we're talking about a 20-25-minute period in the morning and a 20-25-minute period in the afternoon. This is not a throughway for any traffic at any point, except if needed for emergency cases. This is truly twice a day, 180 days a year of 9 buses in and out in the morning between roughly 7:20 and 7:35, 7:40, right around that time. So it shouldn't cause any issues.
Okay. And we have the money in place to do it, so we're not worried about that. So we can work our way through it. But I'm glad to hear it's finally moving along. I think the confusion was, the reason why we didn't do anything this summer was we were under the impression that some kind of engineering was gonna be done to determine where things were, and we pretty much know where they are anyway, so we're just gonna move ahead. We do something wrong, someone will tell us.
Let's go on social media.
Chairman Cohen?
Next one was FY19 supplemental budget for town meeting. And I think a request of ours, I know we met Capital last night, and then Mike met with FinCom, is just letting us know how that went. So I think Dr. Byetta can start planning, just let us know what the outcome of that was, just a
I
quick
was
email or
at the meeting
whatever.
also, and the request has been approved.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The request has been approved.
Okay,
There was another number, the town manager had suggested, a lower number, but the FinCom felt it was necessary. You guys have been on, pretty much for years, have not had the supplies you really need. And I believe the FinCom felt very strongly about the fact that we need to give you some extra money to get some of these supplies back up there. So
Yep.
you had 3 different separate requests. And I'm sure Mike will get into it when he gets into the budget itself, but all 3 were approved.
thank you, yeah, we appreciate that. And then maybe just going forward, if we could just get an email to know that, just so that he can start planning and we can start talking about things, that'd be
Yeah, I
great.
mean, we have to bring it to town meeting, but I don't see it.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
see it being
but just
an
as
issue.
a, FYI, FinCom voted it. I know we talked about it a little bit last night too, since we're talking about capital. I just want to mention it with everybody here. I do have a little bit of concern with putting such a big number in capital. Like we talked about last night, I don't want to go through another budget season like last year. It was bad. It was tough to go through. I think putting an extra 900,000 into capital at this point, when the fall request, everyone who came and presented, they're getting what they asked for. We already went through and saw what was going to happen in the spring, and I just think that we have to just look a little bit more carefully, and rather than just putting $900,000 into capital.
Yeah, there was a major discussion about that too at the FinCom last night, and they did agree to put in the 900,000. And we had this conversation too. The only thing I can say is, every year we have to put money in that account anyway. So if we put 900,000 in this year, and we get to May, and we have the appropriations, and we know exactly what's going on, and we say we have 500,000 in the account, if we feel comfortable, and I don't know if we will or not, but we could, the town meeting floor, that can be adjusted. We can transfer from capital to fund budgets. It's a majority vote, it's a simple vote. So that can be done. It's like putting money in stabilization. That's
Right.
I think that's a 2/3 vote, but, this one's a little bit easy to get at. So I feel comfortable putting the 900,000 in, because for the past few years, you might have to break down, Mike, but the past few years, we've been around that every year, and we never know what's gonna happen. I mean, we have a broken pipe at the Yellow School, we have to deal with that. We have to take care of it. And it seems like even though we have money set aside for specific reasons, always something else coming up.
I think my point in bringing it up tonight too is so that all of us sitting here
Yeah.
understand that, it is a lot of money. We rolled through what the spring was gonna look like, even though there may be more requests coming in. It's one thing to say, we can move it in, Springtown meeting with majority vote, but we all need to know that this is an option or could happen if it needs to. I don't want us to be talking about it in capital and then the rest of our boards not know about it. And then they're kind of, looking at us like, what are you guys doing? So that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight.
I think my concern, Bob, if I may, I'm not a resident of the town, but just responsible for the schools, but I think my concern is putting 600,000 into potentially May 20, fiscal 20, which has been a number that's been used, and I think at one time it was 700,000, I think my first couple of years here. I may be wrong. I think my concern is that if the school committee and the Board of Selectmen aren't on the same page about the potential for either the town departments or the school department needing further funding, then we're gonna end up in the same situation we ended up with last year, minutes before town meeting, moving monies, in our case, cutting a department, in order to move $140,000 to save 2.5 teaching positions. And that's what I informed the committee of, that I think it may cause more stress than if there wasn't much there, and if there was more money available, you could always up the capital as well. Our biggest concern on the town side, besides special education, is that we're in year 3 of our 3-year, and like typical contracts, it's our biggest year. I think we're at 2.5 after a 1.5, 2.25, 2.5. So that's the concern, is that, you know, our level services, which we have this year, get deeper cut into next year. And then my concern is the budget process wasn't a lot of fun, to be quite honest, so.
And we're going to, you know, have to worry about the impact on the town hall side of the town side of government too. And unless we can raise additional funds, and we're getting creative, we're trying to come up with some ways to do that. We have to be careful about how we approach this. But one thing I want to do, in getting back to your concern about capital, is what I'm going to suggest is, before that next May town meeting, we have 2 more meetings like this one, where we sit across the table and we say, you know what? Remember we talked about capital, having that extra, maybe we could take $100,000 or $200,000, talk about it publicly, so that we don't get on town meeting floor and start having this issue. And I'm reaching out to you guys and asking you to force us to come back to the table next April and talk about where we're going with this. So we can talk about all this ahead of time, so when we get to town meeting, you know, we don't suddenly find out that you guys just laid off all the cafeteria workers. You know, that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure we all understand what impact it's having on both of us, and try to figure it out. Yes, Mike?
Just on the capital, I know it sounds like a lot when you say we put 300,000 into capital, but just so everyone's aware, then would the capital plan that was just approved, and then with payments that we're already obligated to make next fiscal year on vehicles that are in payment 2 of 5, 3 of 5, 4 of 5, after those payments are made, we'll only have $341,840 in capital, which is not a lot. If people come forward in May, we know we're going to have the police come forward because they're on a program of replacing cruisers. I don't know if you're going to have any projects that need to be done at the schools, so $341,000 is not a lot to have in capital for projects.
Well, I'm looking at our balance right now is 269,311, right? So I'm just looking at that. And I'm just bringing it up so that we can all talk about it and have the numbers in front of us.
No, I'm including that 269, and I'm just saying, including everything we have in capital and what we voted to fund at the October meeting, and then the payments we gotta make next year, we still only have 341 to do any other work in town. And we won't be putting any more money into capital between now and
Right.
a year from now.
But I'm sure you'll remind us come next April, you know.
Remind you.
And in fact, if there's, you know, if there is,
Glad I'm on that board.
if there's extra money, we can definitely talk about it. I remember one year, just before I forget it, we decided, I've been on capital for 22 years probably, and I remember we didn't fund 2 police cruisers. We didn't have the money, we just didn't have it, and we weren't gonna do it, so we just gonna let everything slide that one year. We end up paying more to have the cruisers fixed than it would have cost us to buy 2 new ones. So we said, okay, that's not gonna work. So, you know, I mean, we have to be careful about how we handle all this, but there are certain things we have to have. You know, I asked you the other night about your buses. I mean, at some point, very soon, you're gonna need another bus. I'm guessing you're gonna need another one. And it's, you know, just by seeing your fleet out there, I was over there recently, and some of them starting to look tired, and they've been around a while. So that's another example of suddenly you get a bad engine on a bus, and what are you gonna do? You gotta have the money to go out and buy that, you know, for 5 years or 3 years or whatever you can get it for. So,
Well, just as a thinking out loud to support the chairman about putting things on the table together, would it ever be a consideration that only emergency situations for capital could be considered in a fall town meeting? In other words, that the fiscal planning long-term would take place at the May town meeting and only emergency items would come back?
I think-
So that,
I'll let the town manager explain that. My understanding of that is we hold off on a lot of things in the spring to wait for certified cash.
okay,
Then in the
That's a
fall,
perfect
if we have it,
yep.
then we
that's
try
fine.
to buy. If
Okay.
we don't have it, then we say, whoops, we're gonna run those cruises for another year and see what happens.
That's a perfect answer, that's.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason for it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Next one was the special education stabilization. I know we had talked about that, I think at one of our other meetings together. I know we have separately. So we just wanted to kind of bring it up while we were all back together to see if that's something that we move forward with, or?
Yeah, so when I went to FinCom, if you remember, FinCom basically gave it back to me to ask that the Board of Selectmen and the school committee talk about it. Mike and I talked about it at that time. So it's not I don't want to spend time on something if the two boards and through Mike in my office don't want to move forward on this at all, then, you know, we'll just take it off the table completely. But I think we owe the FinCom, there was a lot of discussion about why do we need to do that. There's a very strong feeling in this community, from what I've seen, that you just go to stabilization for that. You don't need to create another line item just for that. But just this year alone, there's been a number of communities that have created the stabilization in order to take a look at end-of-the-year funds, if available, and when available, or specific line items that could become available, i.e. Medicare reimbursement, or portions of that, so that you're not taking $291,000 from a stabilization account, or any other line item in the budget. You're going back there and saying X, Y, Z happened. That's why it is a trust issue. You gotta look at. It's one of the reasons I think the school committee wants me to present a line item budget of general ed and special education, so that we can take a heavier look at. So when a student moves in and it's $290,000, that just took away the $300,000 that the town meeting approved, the school committee approved as a line item for tuition. And on the first day of July 1st, $290 of it is gone. That doesn't include the rest. And perfect idea behind this is, the other day I presented to the FinCom the line items of the positions that we cut beyond just food services and did not fill, with an FTE of 28.98 positions. And I told them at that meeting, oh, by the way, this afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that .5 para position is no longer saved. It's now being filled because I have a situation that requires that. So if we don't want to do it, that's fine. That's a commitment between the two boards. We don't have to do it. But should we continue to investigate it and see how towns are using it and report back, Mike and I can potentially do that jointly. I can just do it and send an email to colleagues, and we can do the same, and we can report back in a memo that just says, this is the reasons why they're doing it, this is where it's worked, this is where it hasn't worked, this is what it requires. It would be the only time where the school committee is literally giving up its jurisdiction over line items and giving it to not only the Board of Selectmen, but to the actual town meeting. Because it would require that passage of town meeting in order for it to be utilized, so.
I mean, I was listening to your presentation the last time, and I'm kind of on the fence on it, to be honest with you, because I need to get more information, like you said. You know, I think we need to have more. My main concern is the stabilization account that we presently have, trying to get that up to where it's supposed to be. And now we've got a stabilization account for the entire town, then we have the special stabilization. And trying to figure out a way to get the one that we have. We're supposed to be at like $5 million or something by now?
No, 2.5.
What were we supposed to be at, though?
2.5. we should be
2.5?
at.
So we're getting close.
We're getting there.
We're getting close.
Actually,
So maybe this time to talk about, I mean, as long as we're somewhere in the ballpark, if we can, when you're talking about stabilization, that has a lot of impact on how we borrow, capital, stable, you know, whatever, all these different accounts have a major impact on how we borrow money. And if you have another stabilization account that doesn't count toward it, then I'm concerned about having two different monkeys, unless they can be combined, and that's what you can find out.
I'd be happy to get more information for the
Yeah,
two
I mean, if
boards
you
to
want to
make that
find out more
determination.
information, I don't particularly have a problem with it.
Not a
Anyone
problem.
else? Mr. Bramwell?
I'd be very open to it, but you'd have to do more research. Because, I mean, I like the idea that the voters have the final say, so they have control over the money. But the most important thing to me is maybe a financial plan of how we're going to build it. Because I know we don't have like $500,000 hanging around that we can just stick in it tomorrow. But maybe a plan over the course of maybe 5 to years or something like that, of how much we could put in, you know, a fiscal plan, so that we're putting in, or we're gonna try to commit X number of dollars this year and the following year, and so that we can see how we would plan to get a substantial amount in there so that it could actually be there to help you out in tough times.
Especially to being creative in a way that we don't have an impact on our free cash certification of the year. Sometimes some of these accounts go back into free cash, and then we take that money and we use it the following year. And if we start diverting money to a specialty account, if you can look into that and find out how other towns are doing it, that would help us make a decision, I think. But yeah, if you and Mike want to work together on that, that would be great.
And I think the last thing on our agenda is just a strategic planning. And I think what we were thinking there is how can our two boards work together for our town? So, you know, obviously tonight it's just kind of mentioning it. How do we see our town in 5 years? Police, fire, schools, you know, senior center, town hall. Where do we see Norton going? And how can we collaborate and work together to kind of push our town forward to reach some of these goals? And anybody has anything else to add to that?
Well, I mean, on the school department, because our, you know, just like Mike's responsibility on the town side, you know, revenue is important, right? Whatever the revenue says, we can check off through strategic planning. But there are other things besides strategic planning that don't require resources, don't require extra money, they require reorganization. And you mentioned the other day, cost sharing. You know, are there departments that the two sides should talk together about? Technology, facilities. I'm having an issue with my plumber right now, so, you know.
We don't have one.
Right, so the issue is, do we just,
Hey,
I know
Gondor,
that
right?
we use it more because we have 5 buildings and we get that, but do we bid together for that stuff? It doesn't matter if Mike calls him or I call him, or, you know, is it Wade's department?
Unless it's at the
you
same
know,
time.
I'm sorry?
Unless it's at the same time.
Yeah, unless it's at the same time. I don't see that as a problem because in the same way that it can be in our budgets, right? It can be collectively together and there's a potential for savings because they could potentially lower the cost because a bidder knows that they have X number of properties that they may be dealing with. Technology is another one that we talk about, and I know that if the future is a new town hall, I think it becomes even more important because you want to have a plan in place, not only on the school side, like we do with a newer high school and middle school, for example, but with a new town hall and et cetera. Believe me, if you don't pay attention to it right away, it breaks as quickly, if not quicker. They don't make things the way they used to, especially anything mechanical. So that's strategic planning that requires elected officials like yourselves to get together. Mike and I are the ones who probably have to gather the work and information and come to some resolutions that we agree on to present. But that's strategic planning, right? It allows for us to say, we're working together to address this issue. I would say that our SRO agreement is a perfect example of that, where the money comes off the top, right? The police, we're not arguing for that money because we recognize that that 80,000 is servicing our 5 buildings as much as possible. But I think there's other areas where we could do those types of things that don't require it. HR is probably Mike and I's biggest headache, because, you know, we don't have an HR person. I mean, I have one, HR payroll, but it's basically FMLA. Everything else comes to my desk to handle, from lawsuits to, you know, requests for certain things that are beyond our scope and you have to call legal counsel for instead of a trained HR person, probably costing us more money. So that's what I mean by strategic.
Yeah, and a part of that, you know, on the Capitol for years, I've been preaching that when we buy an HVAC system, we should buy one and continue to buy that one. So you have the same unit, maybe 3 different buildings. So if you need something fixed, they're all the same. You buy a tractor, they should all be the same. If you buy a vehicle, they should be the same. Because that way it just makes it easier cost-wise. If you have someone that can fix this stuff, it's easier to take care of it and maintain it. But I joined the Finance Committee in January of 1987. And when we're having these same conversations back then, the town hasn't changed a bit. You know, every year we're scratching for that extra dime. And part of the strategic planning should be, as you say, 5 years, this is where we need to be, but in year 4, 3, 2, and 1, we have to be here also. You know, it's just more than 5 years, but looking ahead. I know Sherry was asking on the Capitol for a 5-year plan, and it changes all the time. But that's something we should have. It should be written that this is our 5-year plan right now. This is what we're planning. We know we have 4 years at least of pay downs on a tractor or a vehicle. We know that. But what else are we trying to do? The sports facilities or the new library or the town hall or COA or whatever. You know, it just hasn't, we haven't planned that. Everything's been by the seat of our pants for years and years and years. And maybe this time to start strategizing on what is important. What's important to the school department, what's important to the town offices, and how it can work together.
So I'm wondering, can we set a time frame to kind of brainstorm some ideas? Maybe we meet again, I don't know, maybe January. I know December gets crazy with the holidays and everything. Maybe we meet again as a joint meeting in January and have some specific ideas. Maybe Mike and Joe, you guys can get together, talk about that, and then come back. Because I feel like if we keep talking about it and we don't set a deadline,
So set it.
then we just keep talking about it and nothing actually goes into place. So maybe the two of you can talk about some things that you think maybe we can do together, and we'll come back in January, discuss them, see if it's a real possibility, and from there, you know, move forward or change things around or whatever it is.
Well, why don't we let you take the lead on it? You call us and let us know, middle of January, whatever that
Yeah, I mean,
Thursday is.
we'll invite you to one of our meetings in January.
Invite us to one of your meetings next,
Yeah.
and we'll meet with your guys and
That's fine.
come up with a plan.
Mike, you're buying lunch in all these meetings that you and I are gonna
I
have.
think,
No. I know for a fact it goes that way.
I'll have to check that out.
Mr. Salvo?
If you guys are in the same room, I'll buy lunch.
I have just a comment. I think what your board's doing, Sherry, is very productive of getting information out, like you've been posting through social media. People actually get to see facts instead of listening to it, you know, at a local coffee shop.
Yeah,
You know, it's time that, it shouldn't be us against them, it should be as a town as a whole,
right.
because we're all in the same boat. We're all fishing for the same fish, and we all need money.
Right.
And, you know, the more you get out there, the more people are gonna understand and not, you know, just say it's a wish list,
Right.
and I think that's very, very
Right.
positive moving
And
forward.
I think, you know, going forward too, if you guys want to post your meeting, you know, your agendas and then the YouTube clip, feel free to do that. I didn't do it because I didn't want to just take over and start posting FinCom and Board of Selectmen and, but anybody can go on and post on there, because I do think the more, we have a captive audience there, and I do think the more that we can put out there, the better it's going to be for our town as a whole.
Exactly.
So, you know, feel free to post
I've been doing
that.
that too, and posting a lot of messages on my Facebook page for people to see, running notes every town meeting.
So we did switch our meetings to Thursday nights, so maybe I'll work with you, Bob, to figure out a night that we were gonna meet and you guys can come to us in
And
January.
I think we should meet more often.
Yeah,
I mean, we can do
every other month.
we can do our business together. You guys have certain things you have to do. I mean, tonight you had to listen to a couple of things we had to do. You know, it's not, and maybe we swap off, maybe next time we go to your meeting, so we can hear someone, and not get us right in there and out of there. Let us sit there and listen to what you're doing and what's going on. Then we have our joint meeting and talk about what's happening, because that kind of educates us too. We know what's happening from your side of the fence too, so.
So
I think
what
it's
about
important.
December 13th then, let's just put it out there.
We put it, just,
We have a meeting December 13th. So
that's
if you
fine with me.
guys,
Let's plan on it.
I'm not doing anything that night.
no, you're free?
Well,
Well, then put us in your, put us
Is that
down.
December 13th?
Wait, the Patriots
December
play?
13th.
I
That's
think I'm
fine.
away.
I don't know if the Patriots are playing that.
Are you away?
I think I'm in Florida. I'm not positive, but
Can you check
I'll
and
check,
see if
yeah.
there's a football game that night?
He'll tell me about the
Shouldn't be on
football game.
Thursday.
All right, I'm gonna put it in my calendar then.
And we'll come to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
And I think this is a great idea. We'll send you our agenda in advance, so you know what we're gonna be talking about, and you share yours with us, and we'll know what you're gonna talk about.
I think we've been doing that, and our minutes
Yeah.
Yeah.
have been coming, so I don't think we've had minutes from you guys for a while.
Our recording secretary has been slacking.
Well, now we have one.
But now we have someone here.
Okay. No pressure. No pressure.
This
at
is
all.
Jen, by the way.
Look at that buck got
Hi.
passed fast, huh?
I know.
Jen's very new at this, so don't scare her away, please.
I said no pressure.
I've been writing notes of the meeting that was on Facebook.
One thing before we let them go.
Yeah, well, they're not going anywhere. We have other things.
Well, we've got things, but I don't know what else they're gonna. I wanted the Sherry to maybe take this time while we're on TV to talk about your senior program, which I thought was outstanding. And
So,
it's just, if people aren't on social media, maybe they might not have heard about it yet, so
right, so senior, and Dr. Beda can talk about it too, but senior citizens were allowed into events for free.
And have
Right, and have been in the past. So Beth posted something on Facebook about it, and so we're gonna come up with a pass so that we're gonna go to the senior center and give out passes so that seniors 65 plus that live in Norton can go to sporting events, plays, whatever they wanted to go to. We're trying to welcome people more so into the schools, and maybe by having a pass, it will be helpful, for people to come in. We talked about it in before one of the last overrides, we talked about doing stuff like that, just to kind of bring people together a little bit more. And so even though they have been getting in for free anyway, we just figured if we came up with the pass, it would be nice to hand out to people.
It's a great idea. Very good.
I was impressed. The only thing I wasn't impressed about was the fact that I didn't think about it when I was on the school committee.
Well, that's all our administrators that came up with
It's
it.
actually been in place prior to my administration, but it kind of, nobody asks, and people just come up and don't mind tossing in their $5.
Right.
And what we're doing now is we're gonna say, we're gonna treat you a little special, and we're gonna say, this is yours, just show this card. And from now on, and since we're on TV, any senior who shows up, just show your driver's license that shows you're 65, and you're welcome to come in. We are differentiating between our citizens and non-citizens, and that's just because we think that's fair to our residents. So.
And there is a lot of good things to see at the schools too. I mean, I missed it, but last year's play I heard was absolutely tremendous.
The middle school.
Yeah, the middle school play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for our seniors, and we want to make sure that they have equal access, and not just sporting events, but everything else.
I think it's really important that with some of the back and forth that goes about overrides and everything else and people's feelings, that this intent is that we want young kids to be with our elderly folks and vice versa. And there's no loss in doing that. All of us have had, I know my grandparents I was very close to. So this is all about just community. Let the young kids and the elderly get together and share time with each other, because time is precious.
The soccer team just went and played chair volleyball with the seniors at the senior center
Nice,
a week or so ago. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Plus,
You know,
plus,
What would be nice maybe to expand on that is to see if Wheaton would take our passes and allow us into some of their events, because there's a community of 2,000 young adults over there that we never get to meet or know or do anything with. And this Halloween event that we're having, I actually invited through President Hano. I invited their group. There's like 20 of them coming over to help, and we're thrilled to have them, because now we're going to have Wheaton, some of the students themselves are actually going to come over and help us. So we got to get more interaction between the college and the community too. So
Yeah.
if we could
Now
just
Brad's
convince them
upset
to
he
let us
didn't
use
think
our
of
passes.
Jeez. You're missing opportunities here. What's going on?
Right now.
All right, he's kicking me under the table here.
Anything else?
Starting
What
to
time is
hurt.
it?
Are we
Oh,
done?
we still have time.
Well, you guys do, but that was all on our agenda.
Thank you.
So if you guys don't have anything else, I think
We're going to go back to ours, and next on the agenda is the review of the fall annual town meeting articles. And again, I think this is something I think we can talk about together. This is a great opportunity we may be bringing up something that we want to do, and you might say, well, you might have a different perspective to it, and I want to hear that. So as Mike goes through the articles, do you have a copy of the warrant for these guys?
It's in your red folder, Bob.
I'm worried about them having a copy of the warrant. Actually, here's another one here. Pass down. But I do have another copy. You have one? One more.
I think we're okay. Yeah.
Can you two share? Without him picking.
He's my boss.
Well, he
I'm
can't
sharing.
see anyway.
No, there's one
The two
more.
of them is another issue,
Yeah,
but
there's one more.
Blind.
I'll pass it down.
Dan, can you read it to me?
I know from your calls on the sideline.
I'm gonna share with my friend over on this side.
Well, I guess I'm done.
The first article on the warrant is unpaid bills. We have two bills from last year that need to be paid. These were in the planning department. One was for an advertisement in the Mass Municipal Association publication for a director, and the second one was an advertisement in the Sun Chronicle listing for a secretarial position. And the total cost is $352.32, with the money coming out of free cash, and the Finance Committee recommended.
Anyone have any questions? Chair, entertain a motion to support Article 1.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The second article, separation expenses, there are no separation expenses required now, and the Finance Committee voted no action.
Chair will take,
I move we take no action on Article 2.
Second.
motion and second by Mr. Steele. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? She got ahead of you, but just so you know, she beat you on that one.
Yeah, I know, you're well. Just saying which one.
We're working.
You have
Trying to make
work-
it easy for
you have
the
to work
recording
harder on it.
secretary.
Article 4?
Article 4 is operating budget amendments. And I had another item on this, unemployment, 40,000, but I asked the Finance Committee last night if they were comfortable knowing that we may have to come back to them in the reserve fund. We could take that 40,000 and use it. And so we did take that out. Right now, we're running about 15,000 a month in unemployment, but maybe some of those people will get jobs before the final 26-week period runs out. But the Finance Committee is aware that we may have to come back looking for money from the reserve fund. So the recommendation as approved by the Finance Committee was under treasurer, salary, $5,362 in the salary account for the treasurer's office. In the conservation office, under expenses, $1,090. Police department overtime, $149,000. Fire department overtime, $103,000. And these items are items that we cut in May, so that we'd have more money towards the school budget, and then we figured if we had money, we'd put these back. Fire expense, $19,000. Emergency medical expense, $21,000. Communications overtime, $31,000. School department, $366,830. Council on Aging salary account, $840. And interest expense on short-term notes, $5,000.
So the 40,000 you took out of unemployment,
Right.
and that'll be a transfer if they need it?
The 40,000, we didn't ask for 40,000 in unemployment. Last night, we had that put into this funding, so.
So, just to explain why we're doing this, these are supplemental operational increases based on the fact that when we did last year's budget, it had to be balanced budget. So even though we needed more money in police and fire for overtime, even though we needed school supplies, even though we needed all these things, we realized that we had to balance the budget. We can't present an unbalanced budget. It also gives the school department an opportunity to understand where their manpower process is, because by the 15th of June, you're required to notify people if you're not bringing them back. So by us deferring this to the fall and hoping that we've got free cash to cover it, we actually save positions by doing it this way. So that's why we're now back and asking for these supplements. But some of it was unforeseen. I mean, we didn't see it coming, but again, the request that the school department made was $366,830, and that was approved.
Thank you.
And the Finance Committee approved the budget appropriations with $627,122 coming from free cash and $75,000 raise and appropriate.
Any questions?
On the expenses for the fire, is it just general supplies, or are there any big items?
Under emergency medical, the biggest expense there is ambulance billing. And ironically, we're pulling in so much more each year in ambulance receipts that the billing has been going up about 9% a year. And the other expenses in the fire itself, it was just a lot of little, when we were nickel and diming at the end to.
Okay.
Any other questions? Then the chair entertain a motion to support Article 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second by Mr. Flaherty. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Article 4, water operating budget amendments. There are no requests, so the Finance Committee recommended no action.
Okay.
I move that we take no action on Article 4.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Article 5, sewer operating budget amendments. There are no requests, so no action on that.
I move that we take no action on Article 5.
Second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 6.
Article 6, capital improvement funding. The recommendation approved by the Finance Committee was $900,000.
Any discussion?
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the way that you have it written, it says here, the last sentence, from which appropriations may be made by a 2/3 vote at any town meeting. So is it 2/3 or is it majority?
I think it's 2/3.
You were,
To take money out of, 2/3.
Oh.
It's a capital, it's a
Yeah,
like
that is
stabilization.
2/3. Stabilization's the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is not a majority vote. Good catch. Okay. Any further questions? Anyone? Chair, entertain a motion to support Article 6.
I move that we support Article 6.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Article 7.
Article 7 is the capital plan amendments. And the first item on the capital plan amendments for data processing is $102,000. This is to institute online permitting finally in the town hall. So this will set up a system right now where the building department, board of health, and fire department will be able to do online permitting. All plans will be submitted through Bluebeam, and we'll set up a couple kiosks in the town hall that if builders come in that aren't able to get on a computer at their own home, they can use those computers to go online here. Be able to make payments online, so someone can pull a permit without coming into the town hall at all. Also for residents, if you see something happening in your neighborhood and you want to know what's going on, you can go online and find out who pulled the permit and what they're building next to your house. And it was interesting, I was at District 5 meeting with the engineers and the state highway on the bike trail, and at the end, the state said to the engineer, "You'll be submitting your plans on Bluebeam, correct?" And he kind of looked at him and said, "That's the way we're going. Everything's coming on Bluebeam from now on." And then we had the architects for the town hall in here this week, and the first thing he said is, to build space is expensive, and you don't want to build space to store paper. So the more you can do online, and I mentioned this to him, and I mentioned the next thing we're going to be look at is archiving a lot of the stuff that we have here. So this would be great for the town. We'll have 3 departments to start, and then we'll branch out in the coming years.
Mike, just as an FYI, when you start thinking about archiving, the school department would like to have discussions with you
Yeah.
about that, because we have a significant number of things that need to be archived as well.
I met with a woman this week, and I told her after town meeting and town election, she's going to make an appointment. I'll let you know when that is.
That'd be great, thank you.
What I found exciting about this, and Sherry was in that meeting too, is at the Capitol, was talking about, we're always looking at ways to raise money. And in my opinion, a lot of people don't pull permits because it's just a pain in the butt to get a permit pulled. So this is going to give people the opportunity not only to go online and apply for it, to be able to follow it and how it's being processed, who's signing off on it, where it stands, and they can make payments online too. They don't even have to come to town hall. Everything will be done from outside, can be done from outside. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also excited about the fact that Chris Carmichael, who's our building, what do they call him? Commissioner, a new building commissioner, has 3 years of experience with this program. And this can be used in other departments beyond building department too. So it could blossom out into other departments and continue to raise those funds that we're so desperate and trying to figure out how to get, so pretty excited about it.
And everything is full circle cloud-based storage, so we won't be storing on our server here. And there'll also be tablets for the inspectors out in the field, so if they have to access, if they're out there and they see something that doesn't look right, they can access plans right there. They can fill out paperwork, sign off on a permit right out in the field. The next item was $41,000 for,
Before we go on,
Yep.
can I just ask, is this going, like, for the homeowner who's just replacing a door or something? Are they going to have to do it on a computer, or can they come to the town hall?
if they can't do it, that's why we're setting up the kiosks here. So there'll be a kiosk at the building department. They can come in and we'll help them do it on the computer right there.
I mean, I can stumble my way through, but some people
Yeah.
can't do that.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that it's not going to make it extremely difficult for,
No, that's why we're setting up the kiosks here. The police department had $41,000 for a cruiser. We gave them 2 in the spring and had them wait. And this is the price was reduced a little bit because they had an accident with a vehicle, and that insurance money has gone to this. That's why there was only $41,000. Also, they had an issue with a HVAC unit in the building and mold issues because of it. And so this would replace an HVAC unit in the police station, $13,500. Cellbrite Digital Investigative Software and Training, $14,350. It's a program that the police department will obtain so that they can get into people's cell phones if they have to, when they're detectives, if they're investigating something and someone has a cell phone, they'll be able to get into that cell phone and get information.
Can you say that louder,
Yep.
just for the school department?
Another issue they had recently, they had some serious flooding due to a failure of the roof drains in the police station, and $10,000 will go towards fixing those drains. The fire department has 2 requests. The first request is $105,000. This is a chassis for a special hazard unit that they have. I know I'm using the wrong term when I say cab, but the cab itself will be used and be put on this new chassis. That part of the vehicle's fine, but the chassis has been destroyed over the years and needs to be replaced. And 20% of this will come out of capital and 80% will come out of ambulance. And the second item is just $26,000 towards pumper replacement one. The cost of the pumper replacement came in higher than originally anticipated, and so this is to supplement the $99,000 that was originally appropriated. And the school department had three items. One is to upgrade their backup system. They upgrade the system and data backup right now. They had some issues with it, and they can, if you have questions, I'm sure they'll answer them in the spring. That serious issues that they were concerned about, and so $60,000 for that. $101,000 for technology, virtual or Promethean interactive displays. 33, Joe? Is it
33.
33 systems. You want to explain a little bit?
Yeah, so what we have is in K to 8, we have some classrooms where the systems have literally, they're gone. You know, their lifetime is gone 9 to 10. And the way the curriculum is taught, you may have a classroom where there is a board and where literally it's displayed information for students that goes with the curriculum. And then in the same classroom next door, the students don't have that opportunity. And this is especially happening between the JCS and the LGN, and we're worried about equity, and they're falling apart. And then the additional ones go to, the remaining ones, if you will go to the middle school where there are none, but our curriculum uses that system. As you know, in grades 4 through 11 now, our students are all one-to-one, of which in 6 through 11, it's take-home Chromebooks. And then in grades 1 through 5, in 3, 4, and 5, we now have a set of Chromebooks and or iPads in every classroom, but the kids don't take them home. So the instruction that goes with this are part of this board system, if you will. They allow for the whole classroom instruction versus just being on the system with kids. So that's where it's going. You'll see more and more of these over time. I gave the story during my retreat with the administrators at Norton High School. As you walk into Norton High, you go towards the back end where the books are. There's one right there. And literally, during the middle of the presentation of the guest speaker, it literally just went. So our technician brought the one from the other side of the room. Remember, they were working roughly at the same time. Walks over, puts it, 5 minutes later, that one went. So this is what happens with these things. And working through Mike, these are coming straight from the manufacturer. So there is a cost for delivery. And the other thing is we always extend the warranty by 2. So that we have at least 5 guaranteed years where we don't have to worry about cost to replace them or fix them, which I think costs another $6,000 or so.
And the last item the school department has is they had an issue with a pipe under the floor at the LG North School leaking. And so this $55,000 will replace that pipe and put it up in the ceiling. And the last item was a Peterbilt truck for the highway department, payment 1 of 5, $36,000. So the total plan is $563,850, with $84,000 coming from ambulance reserve fund and $479,850 coming from capital.
Any questions? Article 7.
Yes.
Chair, entertain a motion to support Article 7.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Article 8, as you know, we've been talking with Real Term Energy on a program to convert our streetlights over to LEDs with significant savings of around $90,000 a year averaged out to the town. And so this request is seeking $422,500 in free cash to hire Real Term Energy to work as our consultant. And what they'll do is they'll do a complete inventory survey of all the streetlights, work with us on the acquisition of the lights from National Grid. They'll do a pilot project so we can determine which wattage or whatever they use term that we want for each light. They'll work with us on the selection of the equipment, the manufacturers and installers. They'll work doing a photometric design for the lights. They'll do an investment-grade audit report, and then all the procurement service, public information campaign, and assistance with any rebate or grants that we'll be able to receive towards the conversion.
I started having a conversation with Paul Vitale 2 years ago about this program. It's taken us this long to get here. But the whole purpose behind this is not only to get the LED lighting, but also the cost savings from that lighting and how it's going to save the town a lot of money. I'm hoping that what we won't do is we won't improve all the lighting we have and then start adding more so that we end up getting back in the same position we were before. But I think it's important to look at the program. Michael?
Mike, what did you say what's getting transferred from free cash on this?
$42,500.
He said 420.
That's what I thought he said.
Oh,
Okay, I
did
just
I?
wanted to make sure. Okay, okay.
I don't,
Yeah.
he said 422, and I'm thinking,
Yeah, okay, good.
Sorry about
You know.
that.
So tell me again, what is the cost of it?
$42,500.
1,000, okay.
Let's say
we're trying to
that.
save money, not, I mean, that.
The only way we're
that
going to
point,
save
even
money
I
with that
wouldn't
is if we
support
turn
it.
them off.
That's-
No, I know you just mentioned talking about, not adding lights, but will they identify areas where lights should be added?
Yes.
Not like, because I mean, the main street I live off of, there's none. There might be one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping also that they're gonna locate lights like on my street, Pine Street. There's like a light on every pole. And I know there's a reason for it, because Wheaton is in that vicinity, but with this new technology, you can only hope to be every other pole, and we can take those lights and move them to areas. In fact, the police chief was sitting with me last night, we talked about it at FinCom, and I looked over and I said, you're gonna have to probably make some recommendations, your department, on where you think we should have some of these new lights if we do put them up. But hopefully, we're gonna replace some of the ones we already have too, and open up for other opportunities. Yeah.
Pretty neat how they do it. They drive around at night and have this computer system inside. It does all the illuminations, and it's all printed out on a board, so they can actually tell you, we can take so many out here, or they can even control the lightness after midnight. They can turn the dimmings down in certain areas if they want to. Or he can do it through the computer. Very, very good technology today.
We'll be turning our lights off.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? So in the chair, I entertain a motion to support Article 8,
So moved.
Second,
$43,284.
42.
$42,500. Yep.
Oh, boy, I had that one wrong. 42,000 what?
500.
CPA, you guys. Good.
Right? Huh?
And that's from free cash.
We have a
We get a
motion, a
vote.
second?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, Article 9?
Article 9 this is from the Water and Sewer Department, and they're seeking to use $520,000 of their water retained earnings for the planning, design, and construction of a water main and appurtenances in Holme Street and East Main Street.
This is replacing an old system that is probably causing part of our groundwater issues here in town, so this is one of two that they're gonna be working on.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Units, I thought this was already done. Like 2 years ago.
I don't know that.
No, Home Street has a new water main. In East Main Street, I extended it, so I know I did it for the mini storage facility. I know the interchange hasn't been connected over from the Norton Glen thing there, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all new to me.
I think it's down Home Street to, and back
East
on
Main.
East Main Street. 1,100 feet.
Not cheap.
And it's a very old system, so. One thing I brought up at the FinCom last night is, we got a brand-new wastewater plant. We've got new pipes going in on Reservoir Street now. We've got this one here on Home Street. You're going to hear about Pine Street next, which those were put in 1903, I think they said. So they're some of the oldest pipes we have. And what I suggested at FinCom is next time around, next spring, we should be talking to the Water Sewer Commissions about the ice picking, where we get in and clean the lines. There's nothing worse than putting brand-new clean water from a treatment plant through dirty pipes. And I think you're going to see a major, major improvement once they do Pine Street. Because Pine Street, being, as they're at least 15 years old. You know, they're a 6-inch pipe, and they probably got a diameter now about the size of a $50. So it's going to be not only a better improved flow, but it's also going to be better quality. So hopefully that'll take care of that. Anyone have any questions on Article 9?
No.
So entertain a motion to support Article 9?
If I may, can we delay this until Mr. Units can,
We have another meeting?
we usually
At
meet
town
before the town meeting.
Okay.
Just to clarify where the pipes have been replaced and where these pipes are being replaced.
I agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
That's fine.
Now, where Mr. Salvo has indicated there are pipes in that area that have been
Yeah,
replaced.
I think he's talking about, my understanding was it was from, not coming out of the Glen, it was the other way on Home Street, the Pines. I'm just saying.
I know, and so.
I don't think we're replacing pipes that were replaced.
No, it was done last year.
I know that. I don't think we're replacing pipes that were done already.
I understand that. It's just that if you can just get a map to show us what was done and what's going to be
What
done.
I don't, the reason why.
Everyone better be there at 6 o'clock.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Ish.
The reason why I'm discussing it, I'm just saying, it's $500,000, and it's, you know, it's percentage of what we're just doing down on Reservoir Street with all new water mains. It's like, it's not making any sense that that's what it costs to do the interchange over or whatever. I'd like to see some information on
We'll
it.
get some information.
That's all. I mean, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Okay, Article 10.
Article 10 is $2,700,000. The Water and Sewer Department will be looking to borrow to replace 6,100 feet of water main from well number 1 on Pine Street down to Plain Street. And this borrowing will be paid for by water fees.
So is that, Mr. Chairman, is that the well more towards Crane Street?
Down toward Crane.
So it's going to go that way back to
Toward
Lane?
Plain.
Okay,
That's 100, those are the pipes were put in 1903.
because last time they've already done Plain to Pine Street.
Yeah, the plane is already done, yeah. Any questions?
Just a reminder to you and Sherry, this involves borrowing, and I don't think we ever talked about this at Capitol, so we'll have to have a quick 5-minute Capitol meeting before the town meeting, because any borrowing article has to be approved by Capitol.
Any questions?
I move that we support Article 10.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion? Seeing none, others in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Article 11.
Article 11 is also from the Water and Sewer Department. This is just to approve the Water and Sewer Department taking an easement from Woodland Meadows for the sewer pump station that needs to be built as part of the West Main Street project.
Any questions?
I move that we support Article 11.
Second.
Motion and second, further discussion? Seeing none, others in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 12.
Article 12 is move no action at this time. According to our attorney in doing her study, this was concerning Arrowhead Drive. In looking at the title, she feels that we're good to go with the way the easement was taken by Mansfield when they took that over for the sewer line. It mentioned use as a multi-use path, a bike path at the time.
So when you say no action, we don't have to take action because it's already been approved.
Right.
Okay. because this is a big part of that bike path, and we can't ignore that, but the question came up when they put in Arrowhead, which was a 40B. I remember they had to go over the old railroad tracks, and I went to Mansfield and said, would you consider maybe not letting them do that? And they said, well, we have easement rights to the property, so they can, if they can negotiate with us, they can do it, and they ended up doing it that way. So I knew that Mansfield already had possession of it. And I was talking to Mr. Eunice, and I said, can we find out, because they already have the easement for the sewer line, all the way from Mansfield to Crane Street. And so you're saying now that that's in place and we don't take any other action?
Correct.
Okay, so we're all set to go. Okay. Article 13, Chair, entertain a motion to take no action on Article 12.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, thank you. Article 13,
Article 13, the Finance Committee voted no action just because we've been waiting for the engineers to provide us with the final plans, and we have not received them yet, so I mentioned to them if something came in before town meeting, I'd let them know.
is this going to have any impact on our project over here from East Main to 495?
Is it going to have any,
Yeah, I mean, I know we're put on a list, we have to have certain things in place.
right?
We're put on a list, and if we're not ready when the time comes, they're gonna knock us off the list. Is this gonna knock us off the list?
I can't tell you that, but until the state and the engineers finish the plans, there's nothing we can do on it.
Okay, so it's the state engineers you're talking about?
Right.
Okay.
So this gets delayed, maybe get on the agenda for May town meeting,
Right.
if it gets ready.
We already approved
Yeah.
money. This was just, we were waiting for them because they were changing easements, enlarging some easements, and we weren't sure if we were going to need more money, so.
Thank you.
Again, my understanding is that when anything we do like this, we're put on a list, we're expected to do certain things. And if we're not ready for that when the time comes, then we're gonna get kicked off the list. You're telling me that the state is responsible for us not being ready, and I can't think of a reason why they can kick us off the list.
Now, they've been having, the state and the engineers have been having meetings, so they've been reviewing all the plans, and they have the 100% submittal, so they've just got to finalize everything.
I don't know how to work the technology.
I thought that was,
Okay, Article 13, anyone have any questions?
is there a worldwide alert?
You're the president.
I move that we take no action on Article 13.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Article 14.
Article 14 was also recommended by the Finance Committee to use $15,000 from free cash to hire a consultant and to work with the town on solar electric procurement support services and the development of strategies for putting solar down at the Slattery property behind the Water and Sewer Department. We used consultants before on the Hill Street property, and it worked out great. They screened all the applicants to make sure who was legitimate, and then reviewed all the RFPs to determine which was the most financially beneficial to the town. And then this case, we're probably going to have a surveyor draw up a lease area plan for us also.
So the plan is to, just a brief history on the Slattery, we bought that land years ago. We had a plan to create recreational fields, and that never happened. And Sherry can attest to the fact that the trees are getting taller, everything's getting overgrown in there. The Water Department went in with the Board of Selectmen to purchase the property. They took a chunk of it. We are in control of the rest of it. My understanding, it was about 77 acres in total. Proposal is to, and there's been at least 2 companies that I've taken out there already that are interested in acquiring the property. It would be a 20-year agreement. It would be bonded, so at the end of 20 years, they'll take everything out of there. Hopefully the town will be in a better position by that time to build something down there and use it for something else. But in the meantime, based on what the income we're generating from the landfill, it only seems logical that we would put something like that out there that would generate a lot of money for the town Mr. Yunus indicated last night that at the FinCom meeting that, our electric rates are going up on some of our buildings. Yes, we can negotiate. We can maybe get these prices down to a point where we can make some decent money. How much money are we making on the landfill?
The landfill, we lease it for $80,000 a year. We have $40,000 a year in pilot payment.
120.
And then just in July, our credits, our solar credits was $60,548.
And that's for school in town.
Right.
So if we can replicate that again, it's just an additional income for the town.
Yeah, they use the highest electric users. So streetlights is the first one, then this building, the police station, Norton High School, Norton Middle School, Solomon East, and Norton Water Department, some of the pump stations. So it's worked out well.
So we'll be negotiating a deal on that one, too. Anyone have a question?
I move that we support Article 14.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Article 15.
Article 15 is an article to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 56. What that statute is, which we have not adopted, it allows the Board of Selectmen to then develop parking rules and regulations, open-air parking lots. This has been one of the biggest concerns, other than water, that I get calls on here. And it's been taking up way too much time of our inspectors, police, fire. We just have people down on 140, one particular place that's the worst, that are abusing us, parking more cars than they're supposed to park, having people lighting fires in their parking lots, drinking in their parking lots. The people from Norton Estates are calling because they're parking against their fence. They go in the bathroom out in public. And we've tried to regulate this guy, but he knows we haven't adopted the statute, and there's nothing we can do to enforce anything, and he knows it. And we've fined him, and he could care less. He's not going to pay it because he knows we didn't adopt the statute. So all this does is it adopts the statute, which then will allow the Board of Selectmen to develop a parking policy. And similar to what we did when we adopted the senior work-off program, the veterans work-off program, we accepted the statute, and then you worked on the guidelines in a public meeting that's advertised, and it would be the same here, public meeting advertised, and hopefully by next spring we develop bylaws that will make people pull a permit, will make them file a plan to show where cars are going to be parking that can be approved by the public safety people. So we're not creating problems for neighbors, creating problems out on 140. And then if they don't obey their permit, it allows us to fine them and shut them down. So it's strictly a safety issue. And you're not, by adopting this, it's just giving you permission to design the bylaw.
I think this needs to have a little bit more discussion, since it's the first time I'm really hearing about it. I mean, we talked about this years ago, but it was like back when I brought it up, I can't remember when it was probably 2 or 3 building inspectors ago, that, oh, just leave them alone, they pay through a lot of aggravation over there. We don't need to, go down that route and start mandating this and that and the other. But the problem that I have is, we're gonna do this, I think a homeowner needs to supply the town with a liability policy just to cover the, we're giving them a permit to park cars. You can't park, I can't get a permit if I don't have liability or workman's comp. So that should be part of the process of what we're gonna build.
We're not doing that yet.
No, but I'm saying, in the future, if we do this policy,
Right.
that should be part of
Right.
recommendations.
All this is doing is giving you permission to sit down and develop that.
See, I was at the FinCom last night, and I saw a Board of Selectmen, and I kind of indicated that in the future, we need to talk about this stuff in advance, because I wasn't even aware of this, even though it's got our name on it. It kind of puts us in a very awkward position. I'm not saying I don't approve of it, and I think Paul Hemrick did a very good job of explaining why we're adopting the procedure and why it has to be done. But to your point, once this is adopted, we can demand anything we want. And my concern is, I don't want to make it too difficult for people over there to make a few extra dollars because of the impact they're already having with the additional traffic they're already dealing with. You know, I would prefer to, try to keep it as minimal as possible. But at the same time, we hear the complaints about people going to the bathroom and, the traffic and coming out of different, beyond their driveways. They're using different areas and parking cars too close and endangering the public and people walking down streets that we don't have sidewalks on, that kind of stuff. So after listening to it last night, I don't have a problem doing it because we're the ones that are going to make the rules anyway. And we need to have at least one meeting, maybe two meetings with people, the public, to talk about how we put this in place. But I don't want to make it too restrictive either. That's me, though. 5 years from now, someone else can change it all
I'm not
over.
saying I don't want to make it restrictive either, but I think we need to make it fair for all parties. I mean, personally, I don't believe that, somebody that rents an apartment building from a unit that don't own it should be parking and collecting money. That's just me. I mean.
So I agree with that. So we make it the landowner.
How are we going to control it is what I'm getting at down the road. It's too many units involved. But I'm willing to go along with everybody's recommendation, so.
Anybody else? Chair, make a motion to support Article
15.
15. Thank you. I can't see it.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can we backtrack? Sorry, to the rec trail, the rail trail. So the Mass DOT needed to have the easement for the rail trail, right? That's why that whole question came up, and you talked to the Mansfield lawyers. So they're saying that they've already got the easement.
No, the question was, do the easement that Mansfield took, was that suitable to be used as a rail trail? And when they took the easement, they took it mentioning not just putting a sewer pipe down, it mentioned that also it could be used as a bike path.
Specifically for the bike path. So do we have, is there any way to have any concern, or should we have any concern that the Mass DOT might not agree with the legal finding?
Well, we'll have to wait and see what they, obviously we have to wait and see what they say
Okay.
when we do our final plans.
So we have to wait all the way to the final plans. Can we get like a feel?
Yeah,
from
I'm
that
sure,
now?
I'm sure along the process they will.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the way these things work, as I said, we have a project, Route 123, that's supposed to be going out to bid this year. They're still finalizing everything, and it will be the same with the bike trail in 2021 when that's supposed to go out.
Oh, so we could find out in 2021 that they don't agree to it?
No, we should have stuff done by then.
Okay.
But until the state approves a 25% submittal, we're not going to know all the different issues.
All right. And from your experience, does this seem like something that they would accept?
I don't know that. They're very specific. That's between, we've told our attorney to call and deal with them directly.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get the message behind this, and I think you and I have the same concern, is we don't want to lose our placement because somebody else isn't doing what they're supposed to do. As long as that doesn't happen, I don't have an issue with it. But if it's going to jeopardize the placement of when we're going to have it done, we need to be made aware of that so we can deal with it somehow.
Yep.
So, Mike, did you just say that you told our lawyer to get in touch with DOT on it?
Yeah. Yes, the right-of-way
Yeah.
person.
So I would imagine that they should be able to tell us right away whether this is acceptable or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I don't want to take all the time tonight, but can we just maybe get a reply back from them for the next meeting? 2 weeks? Is that enough time? Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Where were we? Article
16.
16.
Article 16, personal bylaw amendments. Under the Finance Committee approved the amendments to the personal bylaw. Basically, we added under the personal bylaw payroll and benefits administrator with the understanding that that's someone that is handling confidential information and should be out of a union, should not have any connections. And so, and also they approved the salary schedules that will provide for the next 3 years that no one is hitting the end of the schedule.
So
Provided
payroll-
for the 3% increase, 2 to 3% increase every year.
Payroll and benefits administrator is somebody we already have.
Right.
Okay. We're
Yep.
just taking them out of a union and putting them on,
Correct.
on the payroll, so, okay. Anyone have a question?
I move that we support Article 16.
Second.
Motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article 17.
Article 17 was a petition article that says the chief administrative officer of the town shall make accessible electronically all town contracts on the website. The Finance Committee did recommend this, and in discussion with them, my only concern was, I know the person that brought this forward even mentioned Mansfield, and I said, well, that's good, but Mansfield has 2 IT people, we have none. So this is something that I don't have that much of a problem with, just letting people know we don't have the staff to do it easily. It'll get done, but if we keep adding things like this, we will definitely need IT people.
So,
Priority.
I guess I understand the notion to want these things available online. These contracts are available if someone were to come into town hall if they wanted to review them.
There. Town accountant has all the contracts.
And by the way, this isn't just town, this is school, all the school contracts, employment contracts, and all the town employment contracts will be put online so people can review them.
How many
I-
contracts are we talking about?
Hmm?
How many contracts are we talking about?
How many do you guys have?
Collective bargaining agreements, we have teachers, custodians, administrative assistants, and what am I missing? Paraprofessionals, and then all administrators that are not in a union. We have 1 Unit B, and then all administrators, including myself, are individual contracts.
So, 7?
It's not typical to see individual contracts, it's typical to see the union contracts, but it's all open. I mean, I know last year that somebody came up and went to the town accountant and asked for my contract. I also told the person they could have just asked me for it, and I would have given it to them, but it's an argument for another day. I will tell you that the town accountant is very good at contacting the folks when requests come in, but
We're going to be required to put all this stuff online. And there is going to be a cost factor involved in it, and how you're going to, you have to have personnel. It was even brought up last night that perhaps a couple of high school seniors could put it all together and put it online. I mean, with the town and the school, we don't have the manpower to do this kind of
it's
stuff.
it's the access to other information, be it, somebody getting onto a website and having the availability to get on it that you'd have to create.
Right.
I don't know if I'd do that with I mean, it's all public record, so it depends on how you want to do it. I mean, you could do it as a PDF and just put schools, town, PDF, and it's in there, and then somebody can scroll down and figure out which one they want.
Mr. Chairman, is this so that any average individual doesn't have to come to the town clerk's office and pay for copies of this? Is this to try to save money on the outside, basically?
I said last night, the actual benefit, for the most part, will be people from other towns that are trying to do salary surveys for their employees.
Pull it offline.
I don't see that many people going on, but I don't have a problem with it. It's just going to take time.
Any questions? Seeing none, the chair entertain a motion to support Article 17.
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconds, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 18 is no action, right?
They voted not to recommend Article 18. Article 18 was also a petition article that was, would have required us to put every contract $5,000 or greater online. And the Finance Committee voted not to recommend this article.
I mean, just an example, I got up and suggested every purchase order that we have to sign up, we're doing a town common over. We buy a monument, we have to go do a purchase order. That's that's an agreement. It's a signed contract. So can you imagine all the different contracts you guys go through and having to put that stuff online all the time? So it was unanimous, I think, that they agreed it wasn't a good idea.
Can we maybe think, like an IT person could be one of the first things looked at as a shared expense between the town and schools?
Definitely.
Because, I mean, I think we have a technology person, but we don't really have an IT.
We have a network administrator and we have a technician, and we cut a technician position 3 years ago.
But that's something we should be talking about. I mean, we basically don't have anybody, so it's, we have somebody, but they're a couple hours here and a couple hours
The
there.
biggest issue between town and school sharing IT only comes down to the specializations that take place on your side versus my side. You just have to try to find the right person.
See if Wheaton has an intern.
So Article 18,
I move that we not recommend Article 18.
Second.
motion and second for the discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 19.
Article 19, OPEB, the Finance Committee voted to recommend $90,000. They had the annual discussion. Paul said he wasn't going to do it, but of course, Paul Humrick did. And, you know, raises good points. We all say it's such a waste, we got to put money in that account. But the chairman of the Finance Committee, who works in the industry, then said, you know you're going to be borrowing money, it's the perception. It comes into the rankings when they figure out what you are, how much of a risk you are. And he said, if you put less money into this stabilization, it's going to hurt you. If you put the same amount in, it's going to hurt you. You have to show at least you're putting something more into stabilization. So this would be a $5,000 increase over last year. And the discussion also was that by putting $5,000 more in than we did last year, when we go out to borrow money, we could spend a lot more than that if the interest rates come in higher, because we're not committed to doing what the actuarials want to see. Unfortunately, we might not like the game, but they run the game and we have to play it, so.
What's the balance on that account now?
The balance right now is $375,000. One thing that did come up last night too, that people had the impression that we can never spend out of this account. You can, if we're desperate enough, we can spend out of it. And when it gets higher and we start generating more interest, this year we made $14,418 in interest on the money in the account. But this covers retirees' health insurance. And so after it builds up and it starts compounding, and if you have to use it, you can use it. But right now, we're so low.
What's our OPEB liability?
55 million.
That's what we need to have.
No, yes, I know.
So how are we paying for it now?
It just paid in our budget every year.
So this is an addition? Like we have to pay for it out of our budget and we have a savings account for it? Or am
We-
I not understanding?
The OPEB liability of 55 million is like thinking that if we were a corporation and we had committed to paying the health insurance of these employees when they retire, and then we declared bankruptcy, if we didn't have the 55 million, then we'd be liable somehow to,
Because there's
so
also
we just pay it, it's in the budget every year under the health insurance account.
Ridiculous.
What could be worse?
Yeah.
We could have to put a realistic number in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they want us to use the marijuana
Mansfield put
tax.
400,000 in theirs this year.
Wow. Wasn't it town Wellesley or somebody that appropriated all their money?
Wellesley
Borrowed
did
it?
an override vote to raise money to completely fund their OPEB. They did. They're the only town in the state that completely funded it.
We have that to say.
Maybe we can borrow some money from them.
Can we get a loan from Wellesley?
Yeah. Okay, Chair's entertain a motion to support Article 19.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed.
None opposed?
I just think it's
Article 20.
Article 20 is stabilization, and the Finance Committee voted to recommend $300,000 go into stabilization.
What's the balance now?
The balance in stabilization right now is $1,745,524. So if we were able to put $300,000 in FY19, FY20, FY21, and FY22, we'd probably catch up and be at our 5%, but we'll see what happens.
Any questions? Chair, entertain a motion to support Article 20.
So moved.
second.
Motion second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, anything else on that? Madam Chair, would you like to, before you lose your quorum?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you.
us. Patriots are up 14-0.
Thank you.
Thanks for, I was taping that at home.
Oh, did I say, Colts are up 14.
I was worried you were going to lose your quorum, so I figured I better do it real fast.
All
It's
right.
getting close.
Good night, Vanessa, Jerry, and Joe.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you. Good night, Jerry.
Thank you.
Good night, Jerry. Good night, Joe. Good night, Dana.
Be well.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a town manager's report.
Okay. I went down to visit the site on Elm Street last Friday, and the EPA is putting up a dike, more or less, out in the water to, so that they can start excavating that bank out. And they were waiting last week at least, maybe still, for the water level to go down a little bit. It had come up quite a bit during the rain, and they weren't able to do any work. And the state is still continuing their asbestos removal. I did talk to a contractor this week who expressed an interest of tearing the building down. I asked him, well, what will it cost us? He said, well, from what I hear, it may cost you nothing because it's all the stuff inside that he wants to recycle that he'll make money on. I'm not I mean, that's good to hear. I don't know if that'll end up being the truth in the end, but that'd be great if we could do that. And the health agent and myself are going to meet with our environmental engineers next week, because my main concern is, well, what's under the building? I know EPA's cleaning up around it, but I want him to let us know what happens if there's something under that building.
Hopefully we'll find a lot of gold and silver under it.
Diamond dust, I hear.
Diamond dust? Yeah, that will work too.
Keith said he's willing to go up there and clean that up. We also received notice from the state that we received a $2 million grant for the new communications center
Nice.
for the regional dispatch. So that'll keep us moving along with that development. The architect for the town hall was in this week, 2 days, last week for 2 days, met with everyone in the town hall and talked to all the department heads. And as I said earlier, they emphasized this, trying to get rid of the paper so that we don't building space just to store it. But, and I also had a conference call with both architects about the architect for the COA and the architect for the town hall about possible joint sites if we build the buildings on one lot, so they're coordinating that. And I just wanted to thank two members of the Norton Fire Department, Deputy Fire Chief Sean Simmons and Norton firefighter Josh Wilson, who were down in North Carolina with the Southeastern Massachusetts technical rescue team for 10 days, and thank them and all the Southeastern Mass rescue team that went down there.
Looks like they got some good experience down there.
Yeah.
A lot of damage done. Anything else?
Nope.
Nothing under appointments or resignations. Selectmen report and mail. Mr. Salvo?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Bramwell? Mrs. Steele? You with us?
Yeah, I do, but I forgot what it was. I was
Okay,
gonna
I'll
ask.
come back to you. Mr. Flaherty?
I have nothing.
I can come back to you, Mary,
Yeah, couldn't have been that
if you
important.
think of it.
We're meeting again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll save it.
The warrants and minutes, a report of chairman for payroll and invoice warrants. Chair entertain a motion to approve payroll warrant PR 19-07 for the week ending September 22nd, 2018. Warrant dated September 27, 2018, in the amount of $1,418,880.22.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous. Chair entertain a motion to approve invoice warrant AP 19-13 dated September 27, 2018, in the amount of $2,127,174.29.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, to have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Motion to approve invoice warrant AP 19-14 dated October 4, 2018, the amount of $294,458.58.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. We have 3 sets of minutes, May 10th, 2018, May 24th, 2018, and September 20th, 2018. Are there any questions, deletions? Seeing none, the chair entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Mrs. Steele, you remember yet?
No.
Okay. Next meeting's agenda, I've requested a fee review. We'd like to take a look at all the different fees that we charge, and that's not only, in town hall, maybe an entire fee review of all the different departments, and find if there's any wiggle room where we might be able to take advantage of, I'm not saying we go to the top of the scale based on surrounding towns, but at least have an increase in some of them to generate some additional revenues. So, and also, we're going to have an update on the rail trails. Mr. Steele request. Anyone else has anything, please contact the town manager, and he will let you know. Mrs. Steele?
I remembered.
Good.
So, did we already do the flu shots in town? Did I miss that?
Yeah, you did. Last week.
Seriously, where was the
Last
announcement?
Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
Oh, don't we usually announce it at the selectmen's meetings?
We did.
We did?
I got mine.
You
Did we only do it one day this?
No, you can just go up when you're around.
All right.
Or call and make sure that the nurse is in.
It's always about her.
I know. Well, I don't want to, miss any meetings, so I want to make sure I'm healthy.
That's a good
All
one.
right, anything else? Seeing none, the chair entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Never missed that much.